Hey, it's Smithy.
Hi, it's Phoebe.
Another dating podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Episode 3. We're still going strong. And today we want to talk to you about rebounds and what we've termed ego boosting or seeking validation. So we're going to delve into stories, reasons why people get into rebound relationships. Can they work? Are they ever a good thing to do? And then a bit about validation seeking behavior online and all the good and bad things around all of that. So buckle in. Here we go. Put your ego in check. This is going to be a bit of a ride, I think. But first and foremost, Neil, how are you doing?
You lied to me. You said this was about rebounding and ego boosting. I thought it was going to be about basketball. What the hell?
I'm sorry. Were you hoping for a double-double there?
Fine. Let's just do it about dating. I guess that's a good podcast subject as good as any. No, I'm okay. I'm good. I'd like to say there's a lot to report in my life. I've been doing some home, not DIY, moving around, and my feng shui is completely screwed up. So I'm not happy with it right now. So I'm going to mess around with that for another. That picture looks wrong. I'm going to mess around with it for another several weeks. But other than that, I'm good.
That's always the way it goes, though, right? You have to make it worse before you can make it better. It's just like every time you get new furniture, first you have to make your house a complete mess until the new furniture is there and you can put everything back in its place. That's always how I see it. Yeah, I gotta make it worse before you make it better.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you see in your head, this is how you want it to look, and then when it's how you think, when everything's in place, it just looks like a teenager's bedroom. Every single piece of furniture does not fit or look like it belongs in the same set. At least kind of, contemporize and keep everything together and, but whatever, it's good.
All right, maybe it's just your style. Just embrace it.
Yeah, chaos. How about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Coming off a birthday high. So yeah, I feel spoiled and loved and warm and fuzzy on the inside.
Okay, did you get any presents?
Yes, I did. Yes, I got lovely presents. Thank you. I think one of my favorites was a mug that I got from one of my friends with a lovely pun on it, which has a little cat. Actually, I have it over there, and it says, "Meow, are you doing?"
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, no.
I'm sorry. I know it's belated, but I am going to have to sing you happy birthday.
All right, go on.
What day is today? It's Phoebe's birthday. What a day for a birthday. Let's all have some cake.
And you smell like 1, 2.
The cake was all sponsored by me, but yeah, that was very nice. Thank you very much.
Yes, Phoebe's Cake Shop now open. No, it's not really.
But yeah, no, it was lovely. Thank you very much.
No, that's good. And also, people, do not ask a lady her age. We will not answer those questions.
Nope.
21 is my guess, obviously.
Yeah, and then some. Let's not get into it.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah. So no, I've been good. You've been good. But here we are talking about rebounds, which often happen when people are not so good. So as is my role, it seems in this podcast, I looked up a definition, and well, several actually, because there doesn't seem to be one agreed definition of what a rebound or a rebound relationship actually is. Let's start from this definition and then maybe offer what you and what I originally thought of as a rebound. So one example of a definition I found was a rebound relationship is a relationship wherein an individual who just recently ended a romantic relationship gets involved with someone else despite not being emotionally healed from the breakup. That to me was pretty much the one that most matched with what I had thought of as a rebound.
Yeah. That's how I would understand it. That there is essentially it's within a commensurate period of still being emotionally in turmoil, heartbroken. Insert your your description here kind of thing. So essentially, you are not technically, I hate using this word, over the other relationship, the previous relationship.
But in your mind, is there like a time limit? So let's say, for example, the breakup was a year ago. Would you still think of the next relationship you get into as a rebound? Or is it time sensitive? So kind of like, oh, a week after, yeah, clearly it's a rebound, but maybe 3 months after, no, that's not a rebound.
I would say there is absolutely, and this is, people may disagree with me. Again, disclaimer: these are only our opinions. These are not in any way to be taken as fact or any scientific research that we've done. This is just our opinions, our observations. But in my opinion, I don't think there is any set period. How could there be? Because you cannot put a period on a person's feelings. Mm-hmm. So, and this is where it gets very tricky. And this is why this subject is very fascinating to me, because only you know in yourself whether you are, I wouldn't say 100%, because sometimes your emotions can play tricks on you, but only you know in yourself whether you're ready or not. And no one else can really measure that. There is no like magic emotional decimeter that somebody could use. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's potentially why people may put a time frame on it, a tangible time frame, because everyone likes to quantify things when writing articles about love, relationships. Oh, 6 months. Half as long as the relationship. I've heard them all, you know. Mm-hmm. So for me, there is no time limit. It is in yourself when you feel ready. But in judging it of other people, I don't think that's possible. So that's going to be something that we'll probably look into a bit more today.
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree. I've definitely also heard this old adage of like, oh yeah, half the time of your previous relationship. But then, you know, I was in a relationship for like 4.5 years, and it definitely didn't take me 2 years to get over that one. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, to be healed. And then, you know, obviously then there's relationships, let's say like 20-year marriages that go bust. Is it really going to take you 10 years to heal from that?
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know. So I think it kind of works in the small bursts. But one article that I found actually quoted a researcher, Justin Lee Miller, PhD, social psychologist and research fellow at the Kinsey Institute. And he actually said what he thinks what determines a rebound relationship is the quality, quantity, or intensity of the previous relationship shouldn't be taken as the determining factor, but the motivation and intention in the current relationship is what determines if it's a rebound relationship. So essentially, if you're in the relationship with no intentions of making it permanent or committing or anything like that, then you could class it as a rebound. But
interesting.
You know, yeah.
I do think that is interesting, but I would have to. I wouldn't say I disagree with that, but there is definitely a grey area in the middle there, because sometimes people may genuinely go into quote unquote what ends up being a rebound relationship, but with every intention of it not being that. They just sort of don't know it themselves. I'm not saying that they're stupid or they're ignorant, but we all know as humans we are susceptible to such delusions in ourselves sometimes. I have been there, as we'll get into.
Definitely.
But generally, I think on the surface level, at its extreme, I think 100% that is a very good way to look at it. That if somebody's going into it as thinking, I just want to use this to make myself feel better because I'm alone or whatever, then just as an example.
I also think it's like it's really important to say that you don't necessarily have to feel the need, I guess, to rebound from every relationship. So not every breakup is going to be so traumatizing that you need lots and lots and lots of time to heal from it. Do you know what I mean? Like if it was like a relatively maybe short-lived few months, maybe a year kind of thing, and it was nice and casual or, you know, not super intense, and then it kind of breaks up for various reasons, you might genuinely be okay with it and then find somebody else quite quickly. But yeah, not necessarily needing that to validate yourself. You were kind of completely okay with the breakup. So I think it does. The truth is, I think, somewhere in between what this Lee Miller guy says and what we originally said. So I do think that the quality and the intensity of the relationship that has ended previously does have something to do with whether or not the next relationship could potentially fall into the pitfall of being a rebound.
Yes, I think so as well. And I think a very important distinction, and I have, this is just anecdotally from myself, from friends, I think also how the nature of the relationship that ended, i.e. Was there infidelity involved? Was it final, sudden closure? Or was it like a mutual breakup where there's no bad feelings, that kind of stuff? I've always noticed that if it's something that involves, say, I don't know, like infidelity, for example, i.e. someone get cheated on and left for somebody else, that's happened to me, that feels more final. So you are probably more likely to do that. I'm not saying I necessarily have done that, but we will go into that later. But I know people that have been cheated on, infidelity, left, they're alone. They are probably more likely to jump into a rebound relationship because to them there is no hope of rekindling that romance with the other person. So although they are obviously broken and distraught, of course, there is a certain aspect of them that is no longer attached. And I think that plays into it.
In a way, they're not under the delusion that it's going to go back to how it was. Yes. Kind of thing, yeah. And Lee Miller agrees with you there. He essentially says people are much more likely to have rebound relationships if they were the one who was dumped. So if they were the one who was broken up with, or, obviously cheated on and things like that. And he says that's because getting dumped can be highly distressing and a serious hit to your self-esteem, which is going to prompt more coping behaviors like rebound sex and rebound relationships.
Yes.
I definitely think that is true, and we'd want to completely avoid stereotyping here, of course, like in the very heteronormative way. It's often thought of that men tend to do rebound sex more than women. And, in the sense that, they'll just find the next best girl, maybe scroll through their phone. Whereas the women immediately let themselves feel the pain and just kind of go into their little cocoon of loneliness and awfulness and grieving the relationships. But what we can maybe extrapolate from that is essentially that if you do jump straight to seeking out the next sexual partner to be with, that's essentially just a mechanism for avoiding your emotions. And eventually, they always creep their way to the top. They always do. This is why, maybe 6 months after you suddenly realize, you know what, I'm not okay. I just pushed it to one side because it was too painful in the moment.
I think I have to I have got first-hand knowledge that the scenario just given actually isn't the case, at least from my point of view. Other than my most previous relationship, which I'm not going to go into, that was a good one. It was mutual. It was fine. That's kind of not relevant to this because that's not none of that has happened. Older relationships, at least my long-term ones, every single time they ended, or in one instance before it ended, those people were either seeking or looking for or had found somebody relatively quickly, or obviously, as I say, before the relationship has ended. Because as you put it, which is part of their thinking, is they don't want to deal with the emotion of being alone. There's a relationship that's obviously ended, whatever reason it's ended, that's fine. But they can't cope with the processing of that, so obviously they've gone out looking for another relationship, and again in that one instance before, because the spectre of being alone and dealing with that is probably too much.
Yeah, I mean, I literally said it to a friend today, beware the serial monogamist. Mm-hmm. Just, I never ever trust people who've never been single, ever.
Overlapping it's called, and it is a
big red flag for me. Big red.
Yeah,
flag.
well, I when I entered a relationship with this person, I was an overlap as well. I'm not happy that I was party to that, but I was young, foolish, and stupid.
Well, I mean, you can't always, assume that past behavior is going to dictate present behavior. That's like, for example, if you're dating somebody and they admit to you that in a previous relationship they have cheated, are you therefore going to say, oh, well, once a cheater, always a cheater? They're definitely going to cheat on me too. No, you have to trust that this time it's going to be different. I
think overlapping is it is a consistent behavior in not everybody, but a lot of people. Because if they have if that's all they've known as a mechanism for relationships, literally from when they were having their first relationship, if that's learned behavior, if that's all they know, of course that's what they're going to stick to because that's all they understand about love, relationships, and does that make sense? That's to them, that's normal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a coping mechanism for them, probably as well. They just don't know how to structure their day to day without being in a relationship, without having that second partner there, or potentially third partner, fourth partner. We're not going to rule out polyamory here.
And I kind of get the psychological brain chemical stuff, all that kind of stuff. Sigmund Freud would have a field day with kind of stuff because, as I say, we have a limbic system. It reacts to stuff like this. We react in different ways, and
it's definitely a very human impulse. Like I get it, but I do think that it means that those people are not as self-aware as would be ideal.
Yeah, and that's very true because as humans, and we've said this in previous episodes, we are instinctively wired to want to connect with one another. It's how the species was able to survive and then, of course, grow, because we formed into groups and tribes and civilizations. It is hardwired into our brain chemistry.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I guess let's just share some kind of personal stories about rebounding. A couple of questions that like popped into my mind when thinking about it is that I don't want to come off as if I'm condemning rebounds outright, because I do think that they can be a healthy coping mechanism if you're honest about what you're doing. So if you're open and honest, going out there saying, I'm not looking for anything serious right now. I'm emotionally not ready to fully commit, but being by myself is just not helping me. It might actually be that being by yourself and just mulling over everything that went wrong is actually hurting your mental health, and you'd rather have a distraction in your life or have somebody around who's fun and cheers you up and makes you laugh and lets you see the joy in life again. That's perfectly fine as long as you're honest about that.
I know, and can I tell a story on this point? And it goes from both ways in the middle. And for me, it's a very interesting life lesson. And disclaimer, everybody: a lot of people may boo and hiss at me for my behavior. Other people may be like, "Oh, well, okay." But after relationship X, I'm going to call it now. I'm call it of cheaty person, cheaty person number one, only cheaty person. I was broken. I was a mess, and I did start dating way too early than I should. I admit it. And it was purely because I was alone, and I think I wouldn't say in the first few months I was dating. It was at least 3 or 4 months till I kind of connected or spoke to anybody. I did engage in first date sex on my first 6 dates.
Ooh, here's Sorry,
but here's the interesting part.
I'm just joking.
That was not my intention. I promise you, everybody that's listening, bollocks, Neil. Hound dog. Yeah, exactly. It was not my intention. However, because of where my brain was, I believe that happened because I was so acutely. There's that old saying: in sadness, everything matters. So you feel everything more acutely. I was probably just really happy to get some affection, and it was like I was way more flirty, and way more just pushing for that. Now, what was interesting to me was that side, which I'll go back to, honestly, it was so good to actually understand I was not a mutant.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best thing. However, that aside, mostly it was quite meaningless and not that fulfilling in itself.
Yeah, because the emotional connection wasn't there because you weren't open for that connection.
Yes, exactly. But even outside of those dates, when it got to a point of, okay, I'm not really feeling anything, I kind of took a look at myself, took a little break for a while, and then started dating again. Only then was I then meeting more meaningful people. Don't get me wrong, the people that I met, for the most part, they were nice people, and most of them were on the same page as me. They weren't really looking for anything. It was just companionship or comfort or whatever. But the takeaway from that was I wasn't a mutant. And then when I stopped doing that, I had a look at myself, got introspective. The instances of first date sex went down, of course. Because that was never my intention. Because I was more thoughtful as to what I needed, what I wanted, and also the kind of person that I wanted as well.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just this person's attractive to me on the surface. Oh, we kind of got a bit in common. Cool, let's go on a date, have fun, yay, ego boosted. Whereas then it was then kind of a little bit of that still, but it was more, okay, this is more, maybe there's something going to happen, maybe there's something we'll build from this. It wasn't just my limbic system speaking, so to speak.
I think that like you said, sometimes we're not even all that aware of the fact that there are still wounds in us that need to be healed until somebody gives us the exact same medicine and it hits the spot just right. Where you go like, oh, okay, now that you're healing it, now I realize there was still a wound there. It's kind of like delayed realization of something that maybe was buried just a little bit deeper.
The second part of this is 2017, ladies and gentlemen, which I have mentioned in some detail in previous podcasts. When I was doing less of that, more of the thinking about myself, blah blah blah, the people that I then dated after that, a lot of those people who it didn't work out with, that happens for whatever reason, I am still friends with.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those women I am still very good friends with. Quite a few I consider some of my very, very good friends. So it's that also I think is quite interesting as well.
I think sometimes we need to be a bit kinder to ourselves as well when dealing with breakups, or I think society sometimes puts things on us where, like, if 6 months after a breakup or 7 months, a year after a breakup, it's still quite present for you and you still feel the need to talk about it with your friends, or you still feel quite hurt and are not over it. I think there can be a lot of people in society generally to kind of groan at that and say, aren't you over that already? But nobody is allowed to tell you how long it should take to heal because they're not in your shoes, essentially. And I also think that even breakups that aren't completely traumatic, so that aren't, the cheating variety or whatever, people always kind of tend to say, oh, what went wrong? Why did you guys break up? What went wrong? Maybe nothing went wrong. Maybe everything went right. But the breakup was necessitated by you both entering a different phase of life, and you part on good terms, but you still part, and there's still pain that comes with that, even when you wish the other person well. I think we often in society, we kind of have this tendency to rush each other to get over things quicker.
I'm glad you said that, because that's something else I did want to touch upon, is that somehow it's almost harder somehow, because maybe your friends, family, people are sick of hearing about this breakup, so there becomes a time frame when their sympathy, I'm not saying they don't sympathise, sympathy becomes less. And also, and I think this is definitely a Western thing, there is that, I do dislike it. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I do dislike it where people say, oh, maybe get out there and meet somebody new, as if that's the panacea to your heartbreak. It doesn't work that way. I get what people are trying to say, because the ego boosting is so, it's almost am I alone here? It is almost expected sometimes in our culture, in the Western culture particularly, that as soon as you break up, that you're going to go out looking for somebody else, because it's in Hollywood movies, it's in TV shows, it's in
you don't
articles
need to,
in Cosmopolitan,
You don't need to look any further than the name of my most hated dating app, Plenty of Fish. It comes from that saying where, you've just broken up with somebody and people go like, oh, well, plenty of fish in the sea. As in, like, you'll find somebody else, it's fine. That fish wasn't all that special, there's more.
Yeah, as in you attach your happiness or self-worth or standing in society is because of you being in a relationship. That is the defining thing. Not the person, not you, but just being in a relationship.
But also kind of stating that the person you've just lost is entirely replaceable and replaceable quite quickly. And obviously that is something that, particularly in polyamorous circles, maybe less so in monogamy, but I think monogamy could take a cue there. It's obviously something that in polyamorous circles is completely frowned upon, because you love each person differently, and hence losing one person hurts completely differently than losing somebody else. Sorry, now I have a tally complaining. So you just saying like, oh, there's more fish in the sea. Yeah, but that next fish might not be the same stripy orange that you loved so much. It might be a little blue thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And you love that blue thing as well. It's wonderful, but it's never going to be exactly the same and cure all of those wounds that the orange stripy one left behind.
Yeah, it's not one singular scale of measurement. It's numerous. The way I always like to describe it is, how this is like a Big Bang Theory reference. How Sheldon says he likes his quantum theory stringy, not loopy.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's just all over the place. There's no it's just a big spaghetti monster everywhere. There is no definable, discernible, quantifiable way to measure how you love it. And I've said this to people before. when you say you love somebody more or less, it doesn't really work that way. Oh, do I love you more than I love my ex? It doesn't really work. I mean, you can kind of say it in some instances, in some ways, maybe, but generally you can't really quantify it that way because it doesn't work that way. And that's why when the rebound or the desire to rebound comes, I think in many ways people aren't necessarily looking for the same thing, because I think even they know they're not going to get the same thing. It's just about ticking boxes in their head, like, right, I'm not alone. Oh,
Yeah, and
I'm
I
getting sex from somebody. This is happening,
I actually think the impulse is to seek the exact opposite sometimes of what we just lost. I mean, that obviously you can see that in politics quite often as well, that there's quite the pendulum that kind of goes from one extreme to the next. So, if things with your partner X didn't work out, then the next time you're definitely not going to date that exact same person. I definitely know that even to this day, when I on dating apps encounter men who have the same name as one of my exes, significant relationship, I just go, nope, I can't date another one of them. I just can't do it. Triggers me. I can't do it. And unfortunately,
Clarence.
And unfortunately for me, it's a very common name, so that rules out quite a few people. I mean, I'm not actually saying no. It just kind of still gives me a little bit of a twinge of like, do I have to?
I will never ever forgive your ex, Neil. Oh,
he was not named Neil. One of the questions that I asked myself is, and we touched upon this, is what if you thought you were ready, you weren't after a rebound, but then you realize you're not ready to commit after you kind of maybe met someone, you started dating them. And I can personally attest to that happening to me. So it was about 4 or 5 months after I'd broken up, come out of a long-term relationship, and I had started dating. And so I started dating this guy exclusively. And there was we'd been seeing each other exclusively for maybe like 4 weeks or something like that, when it came up that he said that summer he was going on a longer trip away to India that he had booked quite a few months ago, and he was quite excited about it and was going to be like a 4-week trip or something like that. And I absolutely lost it. I was really angry that he had made plans without me, and it was completely unreasonable because obviously he had made these plans before we had actually met, and he hadn't fully booked anything, but he was kind of saying to me, oh yeah, next week I'm going to book this trip, like make it final, like book my plane tickets. And I got so angry, and then we had a big fight about it. And the next day, I went back to him and I said, I am so sorry. I wasn't angry at you. I was angry at my ex, because he was often away on travel for his job, and also emotionally for other reasons. I often over and over felt abandoned by him. And that is what was triggered in this new relationship. Just my feeling of abandonment. It had absolutely nothing to do with this new guy that I was dating. But that made me realize that there were still things from my breakup that I hadn't dealt with, and that I wasn't quite ready to fully commit to somebody new. And then side note, he was also a raging narcissist, and it was a good thing that we broke up. But also, I just wasn't ready. So even if he had been the nicest guy in the world, I wasn't in the right place.
For context, I think that's important that you were able to recognize that, and I think that's very interesting. And weirdly, same thing happened to me. Not so much in the sense of that I felt like I am, and I'm not going to name names. This person, if you're listening, you are one of my best friends, and I love you. Anyway,
okay,
but,
I won't take it personal then.
Baby, you broke my heart. So this was again 2017. God, what a year! This was after my soul surgery, whatever. And I met this person, hit it off. It was fantastic, and we were dating exclusively. Technically, for all intents and purposes, we were kind of boyfriend and girlfriend, I guess. And it was lovely. It was great. What I noticed is that I was starting to over idealize this person.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the things that she was that my ex wasn't, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself talking about my ex way too much. And then I saw it, oh God, yeah, okay. And I was not, and to be honest, she did end it, but she did me a big favor, a massive favor, because that was kind of a big wake up call for me to say, okay, there are still some things I need to work. I knew I had to still work on these things. Let's be honest, I was lying to myself, but that was the first time I truly, at least I believed, because I was new to this kind of heartbreak, at least I believed I was kind of in a place where I could start to form a relationship again. So yeah, same thing. Things were surfacing. There was no fights or arguments, but I was, as I say, over idealizing. So I'd go, "Oh, you do that particular thing really well. Oh, that's so great. That is so great." And it could be something really mundane. That is so amazing. Wow. So it was a bit weird.
Like we said, the intensity of the previous relationship kind of plays a part in how soon we might be ready to commit again. But yeah, mainly what defines a rebound is your intention in it. And we often can accidentally find ourselves in essentially a rebound relationship, even though we had no intention of ending up in one. But obviously those are kind of the ones that I think probably happen, like we said, a little bit after we think we have dealt with the heartbreak, whereas then obviously the other side that we talked about is literally that immediate knee-jerk reaction after the breakup of the immediately going back on the apps and immediately starting to swipe. And I think let's delve into that a little bit more, because it then relates back to the rebound, obviously, as well, which we've termed it ego boosting, but you can also just call it validation seeking behavior, essentially. So exactly what this Dr. Lee Miller actually said, it's a coping mechanism to go out there and essentially like a week or two after you've broken up, oh, it's not so bad, go back on the apps, and the apps serve you up hundreds of new candidates.
Yep. And that does feed into it. We were talking about this in the first episode about the gamification of Tinder. I think that I'm not saying that is their entire business model, but they certainly know part of their business model, and that really does feed into that. Just swipe. Boost now for extra light. Now is the peak time to get light. I don't know what. I know that Tinder do that. I've heard stories of that. Don't know if the others do it, but there's different. They put in different mechanics now, I guess, don't they?
To like increase the likes that you can get by like boosting now and things like that.
Yeah, the likelihood that someone's going to notice you at the right time, this person, that...
don't just send a like, send a super like, or on Hinge, like send a rose instead of a like. But you can only have 2 and then the rest you have to pay for. So it's in video games, they obviously call it pay to win. I guess on dating apps, it's pay to date. I don't know.
Pay to date. Is it the best you could go up with?
Pay to bang, maybe? I don't know. But obviously, the ego boosting and validation seeking behavior is not entirely or 100% linked to, just after a breakup, that's what we do.
No.
We generally do that quite a lot. So I found a Norwegian study. It is from 2018, and also, careful side note, the study was done on a pretty small group of university students, so close to 300 university students in Norway. But that study showed that men tend to use dating apps more for casual sex and women for confidence boosting. So, whether or not they're fresh out of a relationship, there's quite a few women who never actually go on the apps with the goal of finding love, but more with the goal of testing their market value and getting to feel better about themselves by getting lots of likes.
That has happened to me as well, actually, believe it or not. Gonna go back to that year again. Couple of contacts that I had there was one lady I was talking to. We seemed to vibe on the messages. I think we spoke
You like
on
saying
the phone.
that, vibing with people.
I like that word, like vibing. It's my hippie heart.
It just makes me think of a vibrator. But all right, go on.
Oh, man. I am going to insert such an apropos sound effect there for you ruining my hippie word.
All right, go on. I like a good vibrator. There's nothing wrong with a good vibrator. They vibe quite nicely.
Yes, but that context. Thank you. Anyway, so I was vibing with somebody, and it's lovely. We spoke on the phone a few times, lots in common, and then she just randomly out of the blue sent me this really long message. Look, I'm really sorry. I'm only these are not the exact words. I'm not doing this verbatim. Disclaimer. I'm really sorry. I was only on here because there still might be a chance I'll get back with my ex. I just needed a bit of an ego boost. You're really lovely. You're really nice. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for seemingly being interested in me. Good luck. I'm sorry. And then a few weeks later, there's a similar thing happened with somebody else, although technically that person may have been a catfish. I don't know. But it was a similar kind of thing. Sorry, goodbye, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting back with my ex.
Well, but I guess the nice thing is, though, that these women told you, whereas I think the much more common experience would be, which we bemoaned, I think, in episode 1, that you just never even get a response from any of the women that you messaged because they're not really interested in actually starting a conversation. They're just there to see the little heart, like, whatever button, like, light up with, like, oh, you've received 25 new likes. It's the same thing as like on Instagram or Facebook. So this is not exclusive to dating apps, even though there obviously it's sexual or attractiveness validation. But the same reason for why people get addicted to social media, of they just want to get the most likes on their latest post or their latest story.
Yeah, there is a lot of overlap there with that, I believe, with the whole modern mechanic of validation seeking via social media, likes, streaming, followers, whatever you want to call it. And obviously now with dating, it's because as we've said, these mechanics have found their way into the dating apps now, and for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
because it's exploitable.
Exactly. And I thought about this a little bit of, okay, yeah, I get why you would do that. It's an easy way to get some likes. However, there's two sides to that coin, because what happens if, I mean, obviously on your dating profile, you put your best foot forward, you choose your best photos, you maybe come up with like a nice bio or profile or whatever, or even just a nice little quip or something. But ideally you put some thought into it, particularly if you're the one seeking the likes. You would think, you put some thought into it. What happens if your carefully curated profile with all of your best pictures doesn't get the rave response that you were hoping for?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Isn't that then just the ultimate, like, kick in the teeth?
And if that's the person that specifically is tailoring or catering rather their profile for that, and that doesn't happen, what is then the knock-on effect for them? Where do they then take that behavior? Do they continue with that, or do they then move to something else? Do they then ramp it up a gear? I don't know. Okay, so segment time. And unfortunately, because I am stupid, I have not come up with a name for this. So, Phoebe, do you want to describe to the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and people who are listening what the theme of this segment will be, and then we can choose an appropriate name?
So essentially, we decided there's tons of fun little quizzes around on the web about dating and romance and relationships and all that, and we decided that we're going to go find the silliest ones, and then we're going to do them live on the podcast and see what the results are going to be. So I guess maybe, I don't know, we could call this Question Conundrum? Sorry, that's just me thinking, because we have
literally QQ as well.
Yeah.
For people that know what QQ means as well, that's just double meaning right there. Yeah, okay. Question conundrum.
If you know a better name, tweet us. Write us an email. But we quite like alliterations for our side segments. So if you have anything with quizzes, question, conundrum, quiz, question.
Quiz, conundrum, questions. I'm quitting the question, conundrum, quizzy
thing.
Anyway. Anyway.
So this week, aren't we all dying to know who our celebrity soulmate is?
Honestly, I woke up this morning and I thought, yes, who is my celebrity soulmate?
Yeah, so we're gonna find out. So the wonderful introduction here reads, take this quiz to find out which celebrity you are meant to be with. You may never meet face to face, but at least you can admire your soulmate from afar. So Neil, are you ready to meet your celebrity soulmate?
Yes.
Okay,
Go.
Question 1. Would you classify yourself as a hopeless romantic? Yes, sometimes, or no way?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Number 2. Which one of these words best describes you? Glamorous, sensible, or rugged?
What?
Hey, I don't make the questions.
Glamorous, sensible, or rugged?
Come on, you're a rugged guy.
Yeah. For people that have met me, you are laughing at me right now. There are people, my friends who are listening are snort laughing, so I'm going to say rugged. Let's go for it.
All right. I mean, this is not going to give you good results.
I'm not rugged. Well, I'm definitely not sensible. I'm definitely not glamorous, so rugged's probably the closest.
Rugged is what we're going to go with.
Okay,
Number 3.
I have epic 5 o'clock shadow, I guess. I don't know. Whatever.
If you were a celebrity, which of these would be the likely scenario for you? You would seek out the limelight, you would do your job, but you would not really seek out attention, or you would be a recluse, only showing up in public when your job requires it. So if you were like a famous actor...
Would it be what would be most likely to happen, or what I would do?
Which of these would be the likely scenario for you?
Probably somewhere in the middle, so I'm going to say turn up and do my job.
But not really seek out attention.
Yeah, so it's kind of somewhere in between.
Number 4. Should your soulmate be really attractive? A. Yes, of course, my soulmate's beauty should shock people. B. No, my soulmate should be attractive, but not ridiculously so. Or C. No, I prefer someone with average looks.
Oh, that is so insulting.
I know, right?
That's
love this
horrible. Like, oh my god, that's so bad. Like, my soulmate, to me, if there is such a thing, would be the most beautiful person in the world. So I'm going to say the one that's like all the beauty that.
So your soulmate's beauty should shock people.
Yeah, because to me, that person, by virtue of being my quote-unquote soulmate, would be the most beautiful person in the world.
I don't think they're going this deep, but okay, we're going to go with it. Okay, there's no going back. It's logged in. It's logged in. Okay, number 5. How much of an activist for charitable causes are you? So not the hypothetical, but how much are you? A, I am passionate about charitable causes. B, I donate money and volunteer, but I'm not fanatic about it. Or C, I would not classify myself as very compassionate about anything.
Probably in the middle there, because I'm not a massive activist, but I am definitely, I do have and do give money to charity and do some things and have done some things. So
okay.
I guess in the middle.
Number 6, what mode of transportation do you choose for a long car ride? A, a stretch limo. B, an expensive yet somewhat reasonable car. Or C, a motorcycle.
Well, it's definitely not going to be a motorcycle. Anyone who rides a motorcycle needs burying with their motorcycle because, as we all know, if anyone who rides a motorcycle will soon be dead. So
Judgment.
Probably, I know, right? I'm kidding. If you like a motorcycle, it's fine. I'm just being hyperbolic, if that is a word. Probably just for the sake of messing with your results, I'm going to say a stretch limo.
All right, okay. Number 7, would you like to go on an adventure? A, yes, absolutely. B, maybe, but it depends on the adventure. Or C, no, I'd rather stay at home. Oh, the picture, by the way, is 2 people going canoeing, I think. That helps at all.
Then I'd probably say, if it's canoeing, then I'd rather stay at home. No. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just a picture. It doesn't actually mean you have to agree to that. So maybe, but depends what it is, or no, would rather stay home.
Probably depends what it is. If it's like, talking Bilbo Baggins, I'm quite ready for an adventure.
Oh, ready for an adventure. All right,
yeah.
Okay.
Then
Number 8,
maybe.
what is the most attractive thing about a potential soulmate? A, sense of humor. B, size of the potential soulmate's bank account. Or C, the soulmate's looks.
Can you repeat those for me?
What is the most attractive thing about a potential soulmate? Sense of humor, size of their bank account, or the soulmate's looks?
Sense of humor.
Of course. As long as they can make you chuckle. Okay,
Yeah.
So your quiz results. Are you ready?
Okay.
Do you want to know
I'm going to put a drum roll in here. Go on, tell me.
Do you want to know the female or the male? Because there's 2.
Both.
You can go queer. All right, okay. If you were gay, your soulmate would be Jim Carrey. Right?
Oh, I like him. I'm a fan of him, but apparently he's quite difficult to be around.
Well, but since you're heterosexual, as you revealed to us, your female soulmate is Kathy Griffin. Everybody frantically Googles Kathy Griffin.
I don't even know who that is.
I mean, honestly, I'm Googling her now because I'm pretty sure that that I know who she is, but
The name rings a bell. Let's have a look. Kathy Griffin. Oh
she's
my
a comedian. She's she's the redhead. I think she was on The View.
I know the name. I've never seen her in anything. So basically, they've taken the sense of humor part, surely, and just gone, yes, someone who's funny, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But on the really, really cool side, she's an LGBTQ rights activist, so that's good.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, of course, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not like saying, oh, she's horrid or anything. I just don't know who she is. I've heard the name, but I just don't know her work or really watched her in anything.
Wow. Clearly, this is a very American website. Are we interested at all in me doing a speed run and doing this for myself?
Yes, but don't tell me what you answered. I just want to see who it spits out. That'd be really
Okay,
interesting.
right. Hang on. Okay, I'll do a speed run. Okay. Would I classify myself as a hopeless romantic? I'm not telling you what I put. Which one of these words best describes you? Glamorous, sensible, or rugged? Well, clearly.
Rugged. Come on, rugged thieves. Go on. You eat Bear Grylls and shit Ray Mayors. Let's be honest.
And obviously, also, if I was a celebrity, I would seek out the limelight. This is my show, guys. Come on now. Obviously. Okay, how attractive should somebody be? And then how much of an activist am I? Kind of like you, I guess, in between.
Not supposed to have the answers.
I'm sorry. And adventures. Ooh, me and adventures. Depends, if Merry and Pippin come, maybe I'll go too. And here we are. Okay, are we ready? Okay, my female soulmate would be Anne Hesh. Again, everybody furiously Google Anne Hesh.
Anne Hesh, I know who Anne Hesh is. She was in Psycho. She's been in a lot of films, actually.
She's the one who you always recognize and you never know her name.
She's I don't know if she's bisexual or homosexual. I know that she wasn't. Oh God.
She was with Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yep. Yes.
But she has been in a lot of films that I did quite enjoy. So yes, I do know.
Okay, right. Everybody else can Google her. And then my male soulmate is Jack Black. From School of Rock. Obviously, everybody knows him. Which is funny because I did say that my soulmate should be hot. I guess it's an acquired taste. Anyway, so here we are.
But at least you got somebody that people have heard of, or at least I've heard of.
Honestly, I was kind of hoping for Chris Hemsworth, but you know.
Yeah, I know.
None of these people who we've matched with seem to be the.
I didn't get Rebecca Ferguson.
hotties.
Come on, let's just cut our losses. Cool.
Okay, right. We'll cut our losses, and at least we'll always be laughing. All right, so I was. You can all judge me. I've been watching awful Christmas movies on Netflix, and
I am. Don't worry. I am.
Great. Thanks. A new one came out. It's called Love Hard, and it's about this young Asian guy who, essentially, everything on his profile is true about himself, but he puts a picture of a guy that he used to go to school with.
I've seen the trailer for that.
Yeah. And
I know what the ending is.
Essentially catfishes, this hot-looking girl, whatever, to come and see him and all that. And he actually at some point reveals to her, listen, I put a profile out there that was exactly the same. It was all about me, but with pictures of me, and I got no matches, or 3 matches or something like that. And I switched the photo, and within 5 minutes I had 85 matches. So I think you just have to be really aware of that, if your profile then doesn't get the response that you had hoped for, that doesn't mean anything in real terms, if that makes sense. Because it might also just be that maybe you're not very objective when you try to choose pictures of yourself, or maybe just the careful, edited way that you wrote about yourself is somehow putting people off. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is something inherently wrong with you. Not
I
this
think that's a
ever.
good point. I think that's a good point. And I think even in the terms of a rebound as well, depending on the phase or stage or type of rebound, I would say somebody early on in a rebound's probably not looking at the profile at all. Really, they're just looking at the bullet points and maybe the picture. It's so that's quite an interesting thing, because if you're someone who's genuinely, let's just say you've not been in a relationship for years, whatever, you have got a happy life, blah, 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 context, and you finally decide, I want to find somebody, I want to meet somebody, I want to date, I want to see if I can find my quote-unquote soulmate, that kind of thing. I would imagine those people are probably more likely to peruse profiles cover to cover, picture to picture, instead of just pictures. And
yeah, people who have been on the apps for longer might be a lot more jaded and be much quicker to judge because they've seen all the tropes and things like that might speak to them or not. And go like, oh, Snapchat filter, no, don't want that. Oh, this guy holding a fish, no, don't want that. Oh, this guy posing in front of a car, oh, nope, don't want that. You know what I mean? Like, once you're kind of familiar with the tropes within the dating apps, you tend to be much less discerning, I guess.
Can I put a fish pun in there?
Go for it.
So that guy with fish is a bit of a red herring.
Yeah, so
Even
honestly,
Tally groaned. I could hear your eyes rolling from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just kind of thought that going online for ego boosting, it might be fun for a while. You know, as we discussed before, most females get quite inundated with likes and messages, especially like when they newly join apps, because most of the apps kind of promote new people who've joined and things like that. But then once you've been on there for a while, that definitely does slow down, and there's just quite a danger there that just aggravates your issues with your confidence rather than make anything better.
That's definitely a valid point. And also, if I'm trying to think of the right wording for this, I'm not saying, when I say intention, I don't mean good intention, bad intention when somebody goes in to do this. As I say, I'm not here to judge anybody. Everyone's got their own reasons. Disclaimer again. But I think the intention of the rebound, or what you want from said rebound, is always going to inherently drive your initial behavior, or in how you interact with the apps or the people initially. Whether it be first dates, second dates, getting intimate, all of that, I would say, at least from my personal experience, will ultimately be shaped by where you're at. Not in terms of time frame, because we've already established, in my opinion, time frame is not the measure. In your own emotional time frame, which is a different measurement, let's just say, that absolutely does drive how you pursue those different things.
And then also the other dimension that we need to add to this is that validation-seeking behavior can also be engaged in by people who are actually not single at all. They might be in a relationship still, and maybe that relationship isn't going very well. Maybe they're going through a rough patch, and maybe that relationship might work out in the end, or it might not. But, you know, in that moment, in their relationship, it's a bit hard. They're not maybe getting the confirmation and the affirmation and the love and attention that they would want, and hence they log into the dating apps. So again, there were studies that about 20% of people in relationships actually every now and then go on dating apps just to see what else is out there, kind of see, am I missing out on something better? Could I trade in this model? And there was actually an interesting study that people who are in relationships and still go on dating apps score much higher on the psychopath scale than other people. So among the people who in a study admitted that they were still on dating apps while in a relationship, those people, a percentage of them also scored higher on the psychopathy scale.
Yeah.
So, you know, one is not like the other. Just because you do that doesn't mean you are a psychopath.
Oh, no, of course. No.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 20% of those people. So again, it's a subset of a subset.
One fifth of you. Ooh, how much?
But obviously, it's just behavior to be aware of. And again, kind of goes back to us needing to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And sometimes if somebody doesn't reply to a message, you might now have a laundry list of reasons why they're not replying to your message that have absolutely nothing to do with you. As in, they
Yes.
might just be ego boosting, they might just be seeking validation, there might be somebody in a relationship who's not actually looking for anything. All sorts of reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with
Yeah, you may just be a like to that person, which, if that's what they're there for, okay, fair enough. But that is quite an interesting take. I do quite like that because, of course, that would make sense. Because if that person is only there to see numbers on a screen, people who've viewed their profile, people who've liked them, super liked them, swiped them, matched with them, and of course, indeed, sent them messages, then to them, that's all that matters, I guess, in that instance. Or in
Yeah,
that
and
context,
I
at
mean,
least.
you could argue, obviously, that we're talking about this like mainly in an online environment at the moment, but obviously you can seek validation offline as well, in the sense that, you know, you could go out with your group of friends to have a wild night of partying after a breakup. With women, it might be like, oh, I want to look hot, I'm going to buy a new dress. I want all the men in the club to look at me while I dance. And that's obviously then a real life form of validation seeking. But then if you're the guy who she meets that night, she might also just completely ignore you because she wasn't actually there to meet anyone. She didn't actually want to talk to you or have any interaction with you. She just wanted to feel sought after.
She wanted to do her thing or enjoy her night in the way that she
and a bit of
expected
admiration, obviously, you know,
Yeah,
get some looks and all that. But yeah, obviously doing it online, I guess, is in some ways safer, physically safer, and that kind of barrier can protect us from heartbreak as well. I'm
glad you mentioned that point, actually, of the person going out, because I've found that when there were, for instance, where I've been out with friends and I'm not necessarily looking for something, and then I sort of talk to a lady, start talking to her, and we vibe quite well, and this is your fault, this is on you, but there's weirdly, that has happened a few times where normally, if this person, and think of a few instances where this person was very attractive, but I wasn't really interested in that, kind of hooking up, quote unquote. It's just nice to talk to a lady that was interested and interested in what I had to say. It was just nice, and to be honest, it was probably better in a way because I wasn't nervous about it. I was, oh god, does this person like me? Like you would maybe on a date, for example, or in other circumstances. It was just talking to, yes, I'm heterosexual, so it's someone of the opposite sex that I would probably find attractive, and if we had similar interests, maybe we would have got along, gone on dates, maybe gone into a relationship in my head. But on that particular instance, I just wanted to go out and have a good time with my friends. Oh, and there's also an interesting lady there that I've spoken to.
There's a whole other episode that we can do about how you're quite often most attractive to the people you want to attract when you're not looking to attract those people, because nothing repels your interested romantic partners more than desperation and neediness. You know, one thing that I do want to mention is that it is absolutely possible for something that started out as a rebound, intentionally or non-intentionally, for that to turn into a serious relationship. As long as at some point an honest conversation is had, or at some point it's kind of made clear that, oh, actually, this is now something real, something that goes deeper, something where we've actually connected on a level that is very meaningful and that we should nurture and carry forward. Communicate, people. Communicate.
Yes, I'm glad that you said that too as well, because that needs to be stated, that it's not necessary. Again, if you guys are listening to this, you can make that call. If there's anything that we've said that's been an admonishment of rebounding, it's absolutely not meant that way. I've done it. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to angry tweet at us, it's at Twitter, it's at @adatingpod.
That's @adatingpod.
Or you can email us at anotherdatingpodcast@gmail.com.
And that's another rampant rabbit at... No, see, you've done it again. Sorry, that's anotherdatingpodcast@gmail.com.
Sometimes you're not in charge of timing. You might actually still be hurting a little bit from a previous relationship, but somebody so amazing and great comes along that you'd be a fool. You'd just be a fool to let them go. And so you could say, listen, I'm not ready, but I don't want to let you pass me by. Or you start something more casual with them, and then you realize they started out casual, but actually I'm realizing you're awesome and I want to keep this going. Sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways and you just got to go with it.
That did kind of happen to me in my previous relationship. I was still processing a lot of stuff from my relationship ex, but for the most part, I was good. I was fine. I was ready for a relationship. But there was still some unresolved things, I guess, because of the nature of it, and this relationship that I had turned into something quite wonderful and quite special. And the biggest reason was, as you've so eloquently stated, it was very well communicated, not just within the relationship itself, but certain parts of how I felt, how what happened to me affected me, and certain things that I may do or say in response to that, in response to certain things that may happen in this new relationship. It's because of this. I'm sorry, I'm still processing that sort of, but that was always understood. And I think in a way that led to a stronger relationship. But this person was so great, as you say, that for me, it was, yes, let's do it.
Yeah, and I think even if you are quite open about the fact that you're not ready yet to commit to something, or you can be open about the fact that you're hurting, and you can talk to your, let's say, rebound partner about, oh, you know what, in my last relationship, in the last few months, I really didn't feel attractive to my partner anymore. Can you help me get over that? And then your rebound partner might actually put extra effort into affirming that you are attractive, giving you more compliments, and thereby giving you exactly the medicine that you need, rather than them kind of accidentally doing it or having to guess. Be open where your wounds are, what were the cuts that cut the deepest, and maybe that person is happy to give you exactly that validation and that reaffirmation that will help you heal quicker. That's possible, but again, that's only possible with honest communication.
And I think it circles back to sort of the original point, or the only point is said the intention being the key thing. Exactly. The intention, what is the intention? And we have said this in previous episodes, that if, as long as people are aware of what's happening, what it means, and what your behavior means, or what you expect, then you're not hurting anybody because you are on the same page, so to speak, I guess.
Exactly. I think the last thing that I just want to say about this, and I know it's become quite the buzzword or something like that. People stop taking it seriously because it's been said so many times. But I definitely just want to encourage everyone to start to strive towards finding validation from within rather than from external sources. Just keep telling yourself you are enough, you are complete, you are loved just the way that you are. You do not need a +1 to be a full person. So that's my message that I want to give to everyone. If you want to go out there and seek your rebound and feel good about yourself because people like the way you look and give you tons of compliments and all that, that's great. Just make sure that is not the only validation that you have. Find something from within yourself to counterbalance that with as well, so that you have a good balance of internal and external validation. And whatever you do, just be honest and open and communicate with the people who you run into about what your intentions are, what you need, what you want. And yeah, be kind to yourself, give yourself time, and heal your heart in your own way.
And if you, as always, if you do have any stories that you want to share, anything, and trust me, guys, there is no judgment here. If you want to change names for yourself, Mr. X, Mrs. X, Ms. X, whatever you want to do, pseudonyms, even if it's utter, even if it's complete, not fabrication, because we want it to be true, obviously, but if there's kind of you playing a bit loose with the story, then let us know. Drop us a tweet at @datingpod. Did I get that right?
At @datingpod.
Yes. And of course, another dating podcast @gmail.com.
And that's another dating podcast @gmail.com.
Thank you.
How's Parrot? On point today. Right, yeah, I think that was it. I think we kind of covered why people might rebound, seek out validation, ego boost. Mainly it's a coping mechanism, deal with heartbreak. Nothing inherently wrong if you're aware of what you're doing and if you're not hurting anybody else, by dragging them along. But yeah, we'd love to hear your stories, and hopefully this is something that we can circle back to, because I think there are a few more things to unpack here. So in a future episode, we might come back to this.
I think that would be fantastic. And I think one of the things that a lot of podcasts do is they do a lot of revisited episodes, and I think this is one we can definitely revisit, hopefully with help from you guys. So please
do share your stories. Yeah. And in the meantime, remember, don't do anything I wouldn't do.